Welcome to the Adventures in Alchemy podcast, where we share tips, techniques, and true stories to support you in using the law of attraction and alchemy to create magic and live the life of your dreams. Here's your host, the founder of dailyalchemy.com, Michelle Martin Dobbins.
Hello, this is Michelle Martin Dobbins, and I am really excited because today in Adventures in Alchemy, I am welcoming Dr. Sheron Mattson. Did I get that right, Sheron?
You did.
All right. And she is the author of How to Maintain Balance in a Wobbly World, and she's a dynamic life coach. And I'm really excited that you took the time to get up so early in the morning to talk to me. That is much appreciated. So, go ahead.
Well, I just feel honored to even have a chance to connect with you this way, because I followed you for a while.
Yeah, I'm excited. And so I just wanted to ask you a little bit about what a dynamic life coach is and kind of how you work with your clients. So,
sure. Well, I actually have probably evolved from my original title of dynamic life coach. I still hang on to it, but I would call myself more a spirit-centered coach now. And I do have a program to develop coaches that's called Spirit-Centered Certification, because I believe that, first of all, everyone has wisdom within and everyone has divine within, and yet we don't always know it or access it, meaning some people are walking around not realizing how much strength and how much personal giftedness and guidance they have within. And I think my job is sort of to wake that up. Now, I wouldn't say that to people when they walk in the door, because some people would go, whoa!
Right.
But I know that in my heart. So how do I help people? People come to me with all kinds of personal issues, being stuck, relationships in a bit of turmoil. Doesn't mean they're in certainly dying or anything, but they're in turmoil and they're trying to figure out next steps. Or in their career, they're trying to figure out next steps. And I assist them with really getting in touch with the wisdom they have within. I can do that through techniques or tools. It's really being present. It's really being present with the other.
That makes sense. And I did notice somewhere on your website, it said something about like if you're at a crossroads. So it sounds like that's like some of your like where you tap into helping somebody that knows they need to turn in a new direction, and you kind of guide them in that.
Absolutely,
way.
Absolutely. And you know, we all have that. My doctorate is in spiritual psychology, and I chose not to go the route of a traditional psychologist because, first of all, I have some personal concerns about a medical model, about labeling people of having issues, because I don't think the majority of us, I mean, there are a few people, I'm not saying that's not true, but the majority of us are at crossroads continually in our life.
That's true.
And it feels like we may have lost control or we don't know ourselves anymore. And my goal is, I believe, to support people to understand that this is part of life, and we actually do want to have crossroads to open up to new possibilities. So yes, crossroads is what I would language a lot about what I do.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I kind of agree with you. I started working on a master's in psychology with like thinking I would go that route. And then I started working in a counseling center that was very medically modeled. And I was like, this is not the place for me, because I just felt like I was very constrained in how I could help people and what I could share with them. And I figure you're probably kind of the same. You want to be a little bit more free with being able to give them techniques and tools that are going to work for them and And like you said, sometimes there are some people that definitely need that medical model. And like even some person could for a small point in time in their life, like
Absolutely.
I feel like medication is like more, it's controlling the symptoms. And I know there's a place for that when your symptoms are so out of hand. But like you said, most people, the things that are coming up for them are not like that you're bipolar or you have depression. You just need to figure out what your next step is. And sometimes that's just really scary.
Absolutely. And I would say I'm not against the medical model in the sense of, or medicine, or like you said, I do believe the body heals itself. Mm-hmm. I believe medicine is there to help. Medications are there to help regulate the symptoms so the body can do its work.
Yeah.
And so I'm not certainly against it. I'm against the immediate response that the way we heal is through a medication, because that's not I don't believe that's the purpose of a medication.
Yeah,
medication
I would agree.
To help the symptoms. And then the body can do its work because the body wants to heal itself. So
yeah, that makes so much sense to me. Well, I noticed in your book that you had the 5 Ps. So I don't know if you wanted to share a little bit about the 5 Ps or what your favorite one is, or.
Sure. I'm getting my book.
You're like me. Well, while you're looking, I noticed like the very last one was it's Where I Am Right Now. So it was the one that really drew me in, and that was Pick Your Yeses.
Yeah.
And I really, really like how you language that, pick your yeses, because a lot of people will language it like learn how to say no. But I kind of like that because it's like when you're trying to improve your diet, instead of saying, I can't eat this, I can't eat this, I can't eat that, choose healthy things that you like, and then you crowd out the bad. So I feel like if you're picking your yeses, then you're crowding out the space to, you know what I said, then you're going to have to say no to the things that won't fit anymore. So if you just consciously choose what's more important for you to say yes to and say yes to it first, then it's gonna be easier to say no. And that's something that I'm working on a lot in my life, like choosing what is important. And so I really like that one. But
yeah, I like the yeses because as you said, there are so many times when we're told no. Or we're faced with something and there are so many shoulds out there. Mm-hmm. And thus we think of the things as negative. And there are so many things that we can say yes to that are good for us. Also in relationships, we need to be able to say yes to the things we want in a relationship and enhance that. Focus on the positives. And then the negatives sort of fall off a little bit, more. If we can say yes to the things we like and yes to the things that nourish us, then the others sort of diminish as we say yes to what we want.
Yeah. I think like that languaging shift makes just a huge difference. And that's kind of, yeah. One of the things I try to do in my life and share with people is how to focus on that positive. I think that was one of the P's too, right?
Yes, one of the P's is positivity. But I'll tell you, the one I like the most is play.
Oh, yeah.
And the reason I like play so much is I think that I know for myself personally, let me say it this way. For myself personally, I think I gave up a lot of play early in life because I was a responsible person. And I don't think I remembered how to play when I became an adult. I was serious. And I don't mean that I wasn't humorous. Because I love humor.
Yeah.
But actually playing, I think I lost the image of what play was about. When you're adult, you're not supposed to play, quote unquote. And yet play is powerful in helping us to enjoy life and learn. When we learn something through a playful model, we learn, it just stays with us so much more. And having grandchildren, oh my goodness, not play. I just appreciate them so much. Could I share a story with you real quick about?
Yeah, I would love that.
When I watched my granddaughter, she must have been boat, still crawling and playing with the pans in your drawers, She picked up a cover of one of those plastic containers that was red colored. And I watched her hold it in front of her face and look through it and look at the world through the red. And then she moved it away. And then she moved it to the side. And I just observed how she was looking at the world through different eyes. And I thought, oh my goodness, that's what we need to do. And it was play for her. And I thought, that's what I need to be reminded of. Just be in the moment with play.
Yeah, I love that. And I love how, like, my kids are getting a little bit older, but still it's like you learn so much through just, sitting there and being present with them and what they're doing. It's super cool how all that works. So I wanted to ask you, maybe if you wanted to share a little bit about some of your favorite tools that people can use. I know that you talk a lot about EFT.
Right.
And like if someone knows nothing, is that something that you would recommend them to give a try? And if so, like what would you say, like how to learn about it? And do you need someone to teach you, or can you just jump right in?
Sure. First of all, I think there are a lot of energy psychology techniques and tools that help us both physically, spiritually, emotionally. And one of them, yes, that I really like is emotional freedom technique, or EFT, or what some people call tapping. It has become much more popularized under the name of tapping. One can do it totally themselves. You can look it up online. There are lots of books. There are lots of videos, a lot of things that people can follow with EFT. And thus, you can learn it quickly. You can use it yourself. My focus around using emotional freedom technique, though, is to get at roots, to really get at root causes. Some people use EFT, and it's wonderful. Like I said, you can go online. It is basically based on ancient practices of acupressure, acupoint tapping that releases the energy flow in the body with positive psychology, with words that tap into the inner brain. And you can get great results just by tapping on anything you want to. The key, though, with EFT is I would seriously recommend, if someone wants to really resolve something, to find a practitioner who's been trained in it. And the reason is there's a lot more depth to it than what we are seeing popularly right now. You can release pain, emotional pain, physical pain, even with just doing a few rounds of tapping. The key, though, is it's sort of like we said about medication. Often people are dealing with the symptoms and not the root cause. And EFT can help you actually to get to root cause. And then you won't have it event or the experience or the emotion recurring. But it is one of the techniques I use with people all the time. And I start off by telling them, this looks really funny. It seems really strange, but let's try it and see if it works for you. And usually people are willing to at least try it.
Yeah, I will admit that for a long time, like I do all the things. I do the crystals, I do the meditation, I do mantras, everything. And when I first found out about it, I like downloaded the book and I tried to do it. And I think sometimes, yeah, like you said, having a practitioner, because I tried to do it on my own and I felt really silly. And I was like, this is not for me. And then I had like this huge resistance around it. And then I worked actually with a kinesiologist who did it with me. And it was like, oh, wait, I know what that was supposed to do now, because I finally felt the energy shift of the work. And but I do understand too, like what you said about the root cause, because it's really easy to use to soothe yourself in the moment. But I think, yes, having someone who really knows what they're doing is when you get to that root cause. And I guess that's like, I've read things about people who've done EFT and like been cured of, illnesses and just had huge, like gotten over fears and big breakthroughs. So I'm assuming that most of that's going to happen if they've got someone who's taught them or working with them to get to that root cause.
I would say so. And I wouldn't want to tout anything as a miracle cure, although I do believe in miracles. But I don't, what I would say is, when it's used effectively, it can make a big shift. I also use things like pranic healing, which is clearing energy, around the bodies, and different body-mind approaches. Meditation that you mentioned is very powerful, and there is so much more research coming out about the power of meditation. It is phenomenal, the research that's coming out to support the shifts that take place in people's lives when they meditate. It's just very powerful. So I use a lot of different techniques. And some people really just, and I don't mean just with, I mean just with, what do you want to say, quotation marks around it. They want to be heard. So many people in our world today have missed and don't have people around them to really hear them deeply. And just as I said, the body heals itself, I think there are ways that the mind can heal itself. And sometimes the healing takes place by someone listening deeply to what someone wants to share. And then spiritually they connect and shift can take place.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I think you just gave that message to me, because that I don't know if you have, I'm sure you probably do, where like you get these synchronicities where like the same message comes to you over and over. And like somebody just yesterday was talking to me about like, you may have this gift and that gift and all the spiritual gifts, but really the one thing that matters is the fact that you can make somebody feel heard. And then you said the same thing. I'm like, oh yeah, it's amazing how, I don't know. Actually, it's kind of sad how disconnected we all are, that nobody takes the time to sit and hear each other and even hear ourselves. So I think that's probably some of what you offer, because a lot of people don't even sit to listen and be present with themselves. And, that's...
Absolutely. I'll tell you, sometimes a session might be with someone. A session, the majority of it, might be summarizing, rephrasing, and repeating back to someone what they've said. And they go, oh, no, that's not what I meant. But that's what they said. And when they hear themselves what they said, they went, oh, wow, that might be getting me into some challenges. So, yes, I think being heard is really powerful in this day and age. Maybe I believe it's always been really powerful. But like you said, I think we're kind of busy and we're kind of doing life so fast that having a place to be really heard and speak our truth is important.
Yeah, very much so. One of the other things I noticed in your book that I really like, and we were talking a little bit before we got on the call, that it's just a real lovely primer, right, for shifting your life. And I love it because it is very easy to read and follow, and you have these nice little steps. And one of the things that you had were like the checklists. I think there was two sections. One was kind of the checklist of the responsibilities you have, and like, which ones do you want to keep, which, like making those real clear, conscious choices with your time. But the one that I also really like, 'cause it's for me, this is huge. And yeah, I'm sorry, my dog is talking to me over here, but it's like you had a room checklist of like going through your space and seeing what should be there, what shouldn't. So can you share a little bit about like that process and how somebody could do that to support themselves in their environment?
Absolutely. Thank you for letting me share that, because I think we forget that everything is energy. Now, this is science. This has nothing to do with, people get concerned, oh, we're talking vibrations and this is all new age. No, this is science. This is basic science. Every single thing that's created is energy in motion. And, back, I remember 8th grade, the atoms that are moving. And I was like, wow, that was so interesting to realize that everything that's solid really is just a bunch of atoms together. The truth of that is then that everything is giving off energy also, even inanimate objects. And when we are in our space, in our room, in our bedroom, in our home, in our office, everything that we have around us affects us. And everything that's around us has some kind of memory attached to it. And it could be positive or negative or neutral. Many times people have things that are worth money, they're valuable. But when they look at them, they're reminded of an experience that was negative. The gift they got from their ex-spouse, and it's sitting there and I can't get rid of it because it's really worth a lot of money. But every time they see it, they feel a little bit of drain, because even if it's not conscious, unconsciously they are remembering the negativity of the experience. Thus, I recommend everyone walk around their space very simply, but walk around and look at everything in your space and decide whether it supports you, whether you feel good about it, whether you like it, whether you enjoy it, whether it is still supporting you. If it is, keep it. If it isn't, it's time to donate it or get rid of it or pass it on to someone else that you love, or give it back to who gave it to you. Yeah, everything in your space supports you. Yeah. Really valuable to do that. And I did read, I think her name is Emoto. I think that's her last name, a Japanese artist. She has the joy.
Marie Kondo?
Yes, thank you. Yes. Yeah. And I love her premise about, oh my goodness, I'm not remembering the name of her book, but it's something about
the life-changing magic of tidying up, or something. Yes, okay, it's not quite right, but yeah, I love that book too.
And I love it because she says, she has another thought, and this came after I wrote this book, I didn't know about it. She has the thought that you should pick things up and hold them towards your heart and see if they give you joy. Yeah. And then hang on to it. Otherwise, it's time to let it go. And thus, you will feel the shift in your space. Yeah. Truly, you will feel the shift in your space. You'll have more energy when things around you support you.
Yeah, I love that. And I've been one that sometimes in the past have had a hard time letting go of the things, and they're even bagged up. And I think she had something, and I can't remember exactly how it was, but it was kind of like sending them on their journey and sending them energetic, like just knowing that they're going to like benefit and serve somebody else. And so like I try to think about that, like when I go to the Goodwill, like somebody's going to be so excited. And I'm kind of I am a book hoarder. I need to go to like Book Hoarders Anonymous. I have so many books, and it's hard for me to let go of books. One time when I moved, though, I let go of like hundreds of them. But always when I do that, I'm like, especially because I have all these spiritual self-help, magical books. And so I'm like, how can I let go of this book? It's so good. But, I keep buying more. So there's only so much space in my house. And, I do some Kindle, but I like a real book in my hands. So I always like do that thing of like, somebody is going to be so freaking happy when they go to the Goodwill or the thrift shop today, because they're going to be like, I just hit the mother load, because, there's going to be some weird person like me who like digs this stuff and goes in there. They always go in and look at the books hoping for something other than, Jackie Collins or Stephen King. Not that there's anything wrong with them, right. But, like that's like my story of like I just made somebody like very happy today. Yeah. So I guess if we could do that when we get rid of all of our stuff,
Well, I love what Maria says about it already brought you the joy.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we'll have a book on the shelf. When I moved, I'm probably similar to you. I'm kind of a book hoarder too, although I'm not anymore. When I moved about a year ago, I got rid of hundreds of books, and it was hard. It hurt. It actually physically hurt a little bit to let them all go.
Yeah.
And I thought, no, I appreciated what she had said. You can always get it again if it calls to you. You can also download it, yes. Or remember, if you haven't read it or picked it up in 6 months, it is time to let it go. And you got the joy, even if you didn't read the book, you got the joy by buying it in the first place, by letting it come into your space. And I thought, that is absolutely true. And it made it easier for me to, as you said, give it to someone else or allow it to be free and go forward.
Yeah. I got rid of all those books, and I think I've only rebought 2 of them, maybe 3. But there were a few that I was like, I had this book before, and I gave it away, and then I was like, why am I whining? It's literally, I guess it depends on the book, but most of these books were older books that I had from before. So I went to the used bookstore and like, boop, now I have another copy for $5. So yeah, sometimes we're like holding on so tightly to that. And I kind of think too that I know that somewhere on your website, you're talking about like allowing in that financial abundance of life too. And I feel like sometimes that holding on to stuff, like that's a poverty mindset consciousness. And so like actually giving away stuff for me has almost always like, I'll clean out my thing. And then like stuff comes to me, be it money, be it gifts or whatnot. It's like when you clear out that energy space, I don't know. Do you see that for yourself and your clients too?
Absolutely. That is a principle of nature. A vacuum will be filled. So you create the vacuum and then it can fill again. It is absolutely critical to allow the flow in your life, to let things go and allow new things to come in. That is the way energy works. It has to. It has to have a space for it. So when you give things away, you make room for something new. And what I wanted to say that remind you of what you said, and then you said it a different way, is that someone benefited by you giving that book to them, and you rebuying it later was probably because you were supposed to help somebody else by giving it away.
Yeah.
Gave it away, and then when you wanted to have the message, whatever it was in the book again, you went and got it again, and you were able to do that. And if you'd have hung on to that book in the first place, somebody else may not have benefited. So somehow you actually helped somebody else when you did that.
That's true. I'm a big believer that like when we're in flow and we're listening to our intuition and we're doing what, that soft voice in our head when we're journaling or when we're meditating tells us to do, that like we're not just serving ourselves, but we're serving everybody else in the world because we're all just so interconnected with each other.
It's a great big field. We're all in a great big energy.
I know, right? It is so cool how those things happen. I'm just curious for you. I know you've worked with a lot of clients and you've been doing this for a lot of years. Have you had any like synchronicities like that from doing things that like sometimes you don't get to know, right? Because like sometimes you give the book away and you don't know, you just have to trust that everything's happening right. But sometimes you get really interesting things like that happen. I don't know if you've had any that like stand out for you or some of your clients.
Yeah, when I think on the spot, no particular incident comes to me, except when I hear back from clients, maybe a year or 6 months, and I don't know why recently I've heard back from some clients, and I can't even actually picture them in my mind at the moment, but they've told me, wow, when you said that, or when you referred me to that person, or when you did something, it changed me. It changed my life. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. And I know that's beyond me personally. That's when I know that spirit is working, because I don't even remember the experience or what I said, but they do.
Yeah.
And so I really appreciate that. And it's happened in my own life. One of the coaches in my coaching program said, I need to supplement my income for a while. And she told me what she was looking for. That same day, on another Facebook page I'm on, I saw a particular kind of work that I thought would be good for her. I just referred her to it, and it ended up being perfect for her. So I do think that synchronicity happens if we're really open to it.
Yeah, I think so too. I've found like when you get into that flow state of, like a lot of those 5 Ps that you're talking about, because I think one that usually gets people into that flow state is play or being playful. Yeah. Because I know for me, a lot of times it seems like when I'm like doing stuff with my kids and we're just being silly and goofy and I'm just flowing and whatever comes up, I'm following my intuition on what we should do and where we should go, is when like you ask a question and the answer's already there. It's like it just like with you and your friend, she asked about the job and then like, boom, it was probably already posted on Facebook, but like somehow that synchronicity led you to the post that was perfect for her.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Things just happen like that over and over and over again in life. I know that it happens. And I would like to share something with you, if it's okay, regarding spiritual experience. Is that okay?
Oh, yeah, totally.
So I recently attended the Association for Comprehensive Energy Psychology Conference. I'm a member of that organization. And it's really a focus on what I would suggest to be science and spirituality connection. And one of the speakers, you've probably heard of him, Dean Radin, who's written a book about that he calls it Magick, I think, Magic and Science. He spoke. And one of the things that struck me so powerfully is that many of us have spiritual experiences. The majority of people have which you would call synchronistic moments, as you mentioned, or I label it spiritual experiences because to me it's all connected. And he said, but scientists want to deny it. And I won't go into all the premise behind that about how that's shifting. But he did a research, and I'm not going to remember the exact numbers of the specific percentage, but he did some powerful research around asking people if they've had experiences like that, synchronistic, but really powerful synchronistic experiences. And he said the average population was in the 90s. Mystics, people that identify themselves as mystics, I think theirs was 97, which one might expect. But the interesting one was the research around scientists. And scientists still, their percentage was 80s to 90% of people had what they would label what maybe you would even call it a miracle, but a spiritual experience, a mystical, a synchronistic experience that they could not explain. So it's really shifting. The world is really definitely shifting, and we're being opened up to allowing that more and more.
Yeah, I love, and for me, I talk a lot about the law of attraction and magic and spiritual experiences. And to me, like when I first learned about the law of attraction and like just focusing on the positive and focusing on good things, and like I think it's great, right? And you can make things happen in your life. But for me, like the joy and the juice and the bliss is when there's that spirit connection, and you realize that you're a part of, like you said, the field you're a part of, like we're all interconnected, and there's definitely something more than what we can just see and hear here, because we get proof of it. Like, I mean, 90% of the people, right, have had some kind of thing like that. And I know for me, it happens, almost daily, it feels like, but I'm focused on it. And I think, even if you don't focus on it, sometimes it just creeps through when you're, in that flow state.
Absolutely. And what I would say when you ask me about how I coach people, I would tell you that in a session when I'm coaching somebody, I would say this happens 99% of the time. There may be a couple of times, maybe once in a while that I'm not specifically consciously connecting. I'm always connecting, but consciously connecting with the energy around us, or one could say God, or one could say spirit, or however one wants to language it. I am constantly connected when I'm with somebody, and I will be saying as I'm with them, allow me to speak the words that they need. Allow your presence, or the presence, to be felt here, what they need in this moment. And I know that's not me. I mean, I choose to be an instrument, and I'm delighted to do that. But I know it's not me. I mean, they'll go, wow, this is great. And I'm sitting there going, oh, I'm so glad this is good. Because it was what they needed. But I know it isn't. I don't say I don't participate.
Right.
It's going through me, not of me.
Kind of in a way being like a channel, maybe. Yeah. I know when I do Reiki and a lot of anything else, I think because I was taught this way. I did my Reiki training a long, long time ago, but it was taught like that you're channeling, either God energy or universe energy or the field or what have you. And so you're allowing that energy kind of to come like in through the crown chakra, down through and out, out your hands or wherever. Kind of feels like after a while it seeps out of all your pores when you're focusing on it. But you're not the energy. You're not the healing energy. You're the channel for the healing energy. And, yeah, I spoke with someone the other day who was telling me about this guy who was like this amazing healer that she watched on some television show, but how at the end of his sessions, he could only do so much because at the end of his sessions, he was drained. And I was like, well, he's trying to do it himself then, right? And and I'm like, here's me just judging this poor guy who I do not know. I didn't even watch the show, but I'm like, if he could tap into the universal energy and channel it, with him already being such a gifted healer, it would be amazing. Because for me, and I'm guessing probably the same for you, is whenever I'm doing that work and I'm channeling that energy through me to other people, then I'm like all abuzz, like I get healed at the same time. So I'm assuming when you're doing that work and channeling, you probably feel awesome at the end of a session, just like the client does.
Absolutely. And I tell you, in my Spirit Center coaching program, my certification program, that's what I tell the coaches. The hard work is preparing yourself to do the work. It's not doing the work that's hard. Because absolutely, if the coach is working really hard, if he or she is drained at the end, then I'm going to say you worked harder than the person themselves who's getting the coaching experience. Because it should be energizing for both of you. And I don't mean that there aren't hard situations. I don't mean that. I'm very sensitive to people's pain. Not that everybody comes in with pain, but some people definitely do.
Yeah.
But again, if you're allowing beyond you to be present, then you aren't caught up in the drama of the experience. The other I would be concerned about, a healer who is an excellent healer, who is consistently drained, is I'm concerned that they're taking on some of the energy and the pain of the other, and it will affect them. So, and I'm just talking even just verbally, because emotionally we get caught up in people's stories and people's trauma, and we all have it. Oh my goodness, I have it in my life. And I need to own my own, and deal with my own, and get support to deal with mine, because I think that's really important. I also think anybody that does the kind of work of supporting others needs to have their own coach or mentor or guru so that they can stay centered and focused also. A parent does that for a child.
Right.
And an adult needs it with someone else.
Right. I agree. I think, you're probably the same way. Like I've had like a coach or been in a group coaching or had a one-on-one coach or something pretty much like, I don't know, since I was like 24, since I really decided that like spiritual growth was super, super important to me. And I think actually even Yeah. I think I was about 24 when I joined a Unity church, and that minister was my mentor for a while. But like, to me, paying for that is like, it's like paying for good, healthy food. It's like paying for, it's like everything else in your life is touched by how you feel.
Absolutely. Well, what you just said, Michelle, is about the flow. Again, the flow. What you invest in, you get the return from. It's almost like you're exchanging money, a tangible something, for another type of money. We forget what money really is. Money is just energy.
Right.
So we're just exchanging the energy for something else. And as you exchange it, you get more of it. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know. Sometimes it just kind of, I don't know if sad, but I wish that there were more people who realized that, and not just because I sell coaching products at all, but because I get the benefit of that with the coaching that I do. And I know that it makes me like feel supported, feel heard, grow. Yes. And, it's interesting too, because when you draw on that spiritual connection, you're always going to find like the right next person. Cause I've had like, I don't even know more than 10 different coaches that I've worked with over the years. And it's like, one is right for a season. And now it's just like a book. Like you get, I don't know. I believe I'm guided. I pick up the right book. And sometimes I don't pick up the right book, and then it falls off the shelf and hits me in the head. I had that experience happen once where the same book fell off a shelf twice and hit me in the head in a bookstore. And I was like, okay, I get the message. I shall buy it.
Well, I think I would agree with you also in life. There are people that come in like friends. And I used to regret, oh my goodness, this friend moved away or that friend moved away. But that's the way it is. We come into life, people come into our life for periods of time, and then they will move out, and sometimes they'll come back in, or sometimes they leave. And it isn't about the sadness of it leaving, and sometimes it leaves not positively, but it's supposed to. It's supposed to. We were there for each other for a period of time, and then it moves on. And the same thing with books or coaches or spiritual experiences or religious experiences or learning experiences. It all has a purpose, and then when it's time, it moves on. And I have to say, Michelle, I am probably more than double your age.
I don't think so.
I say it like this. I have a year and a half before I have to get Social Security, because you can only put it off for so long. So I'm at that stage of life that is, I should be collecting, and I'm not going to until they make me. But the value of that is, as you even get older, you can see the patterns in a way that when you're in it, you can't always see. And now as I'm in more the last stage, and I have a lot. I figure I'm living to 129. I already decided that. But I only have about 60 years left. But but you see the patterns, and it's powerful, and it's wonderful to be able to see. Even the painful ones that you might have seen as painful, when you look at them now, you can say, I see what that was about now. Mm-hmm. And then maybe some of them will leave this planet without seeing it, but we just accept that it's okay.
Yeah. Well, and I'm a believer that life goes on, and there will be lessons learned from that, and however, I won't get too far deep off on that subject, but I agree. You definitely see the patterns, and just to say, I can tell that all the energy work and the spiritual work, that's something anybody who's listening, you do not look like you're in the Social Security range. So, it keeps you young, right?
I'm young in spirit. I've always been young in spirit. And when I became awakened, I've always been spiritually connected. In fact, I would say I had some very powerful spiritual experiences even when I was a girl, and I didn't really understand them. But I've always been spiritually connected, but I've been gifted with people to come into my life and experiences to come into my life. And I was introduced to energy psychology when it was the right time. I was introduced to the different mentors in my life when it was the right time. I have followed you for a few years and watched what you do in some of your posts, and I'm like, oh, wow, right on, Michelle. That's kind of, and I am reaffirmed when I hear some of the things you say. And so I just am constantly being guided to the next step and appreciate it. And want to share it with others.
Yeah, that's so fun. Do you happen to remember any of the things that happened to you when you were a child?
I do. I have a powerful experience. I was 7 years old, and I can actually remember the moment, the place. And my mother left the family when I was 9, so I raised my brothers and sisters. But this happened before that. This was when I was 7, and I remember she was standing in front of me. And I remember it was my first communion, this big event. And we were all standing having pictures taken. And all of a sudden, I cannot tell you, Michelle, this voice came to me. I'm a 7-year-old. I didn't understand what's happening. This powerful voice came into my head and it said, I'm with you always, and I'll be with you with everything that's going to happen in the future. And it'll be okay. And I'll be with you. And I honestly, I still feel the goosebumps in my body. And I said something to my mother. I said, did you hear that? And she said, be quiet. Just, we're having pictures taken. And I tucked that away. I tucked that away in my being because I didn't understand it. And then later on, because I had to raise my brothers and sisters, I was the oldest. There were 6 of us. And, many of us have those stories. And I remember that so many times. And I went, oh, I'm not alone. And everything's going to be okay. No matter what happened, everything's going to be okay. So that was one of those moments where you just felt deep presence within you. And people could name it all kinds of things. Your subconscious, we could distance from it. But I know it was powerful spirit speaking to me.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love hearing stories of, especially some of the childhood stories of that, because I feel like like you said, we forget how to play and we forget how to be open to spirit as well. And but so many of us have these things that happen to us when we're a kid. And the trick is to open back up and let that, let those voices talk to us again. And, and like you said, things like that happen for a season, because I do remember one of the coaches that told me, she's like, that's your candy, that's your treat. Like when I was having some of these spiritual experiences, she goes, but when you grow past it and you don't need it. Cause I was like, something's wrong. These things aren't happening to me anymore when I do my meditation. And she was like, no, that was spirit giving candy to a child to keep you on your path. And now they know that you don't need candy anymore, that, you've grown to just get the energy from doing the work. And I was like,
and it supports you to know that you're on the right path. So you just keep going, and you just hold on to those inner experiences. And when there's a dry spell, remind yourself of those experiences, and they support you for the next steps. Because there are always dry spells. It's just life.
Yeah. Well, I like to do a word of the year every year. And this year, my word was steadfast. And as happens almost every year, I don't try to pick out a word. It's given to me. It just pops in. And usually the first thing I say is, no, that's not the word I want. and the spirit says, that's the word you need. And so that's been that's been my oar that I'm holding on to this year is you just do it. You just get up every day and do your meditation and journaling, or you just right? Every day you do what you know you're called to, and not every day is going to be fun and amazing. But if you keep doing it, it's like that steadfastness. It brings you to the place you want to be. I don't know. Going off a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah, and we just have to stay in gratitude, and even for whatever's going on. And I'm so grateful for the experiences that I have had, and I'm grateful because I know there'll be more good ones.
Yeah, that's amazing. Do you find that some of your clients have problems with that, or is that something that you're helping them shift? Because I think change, it's like sometimes we're like, things are good now, so if they're different, they won't be as good. Or even if they're not good, we don't want to let go of like what's right now.
Yes. I would say gratitude is simple as it is. It is also extremely challenging for some people because they can't see anything to be grateful for when they're in deep pain. And yet there is always something to be grateful for. Always something to be grateful for. Even that our breath keeps working and our heart keeps pounding, keeps beating. And we can use our mouth. We can taste food. I mean, there's always something to be grateful for, even in the midst of pain. And truly the best is to be grateful for the pain because on the other side will be something else. And I don't, how can I say this? I don't want to impose on someone the method of being grateful when they cannot even mouth the words. I might say, I am grateful for this for you, or maybe someday there will be something that you can see from this. But I do think change is hard for people. Change is hard for all of us, even when it's good change.
I know. Yeah, it's definitely.
We want to hang on to what we know, even if it's uncomfortable, because we know it. And yet, of course, when we allow ourselves to be open to something new, just like we talked about the flow, let it go so something new can come in. Let it go so something new can come in. There's that constant flow. And if something goes up, it will go down. And when it goes down, it will go up. It's just the law of nature. So we just have to be in that moment and we will see the next step.
Yeah. And I guess like the science happens the same way that the spiritual life happens, you have to put in the work. You have to have the ebb and flow.
Yes.
And unfortunately, magic wands don't work the same way they do in Harry Potter.
That was the other thing that I appreciated that Dean Radin spoke about when I heard him speak. He said there are 3 types of magic. And I just want to look because I sometimes forget the actual words, but he said there are 3 types of magic. There's the magic of fictional, which is the Harry Potter. And then there's the fake magic, which is Harry Houdini, for example. And then there's the real magic. And the real magic is the spirit and the movement of the flow and the spiritual experience. And we're having science catch up with, or we're having science be open to the possibility of that. And actually, the magic, quote unquote, if you want to use that word, has been around a lot longer than science has been around.
Yeah.
And science is now trying to validate it, but there's just too much research to support the quote unquote magic. And it'll be okay. We just have to walk through it. Yeah. And it depends on what eyes we look through, what we can see. And it's okay if someone doesn't understand it or doesn't accept it. We just have to be true to ourselves and accept them where they are too. And they will have their time of experience when it's right.
Yeah. And I love that like, actual scientists are really noting this and seeing that it's happening. And I also, like you, I'm like, and if they don't, it's okay because it happens anyway. And that's kind of like, for me, like the difference between like chemistry and alchemy, because like chemistry, it's, you got your scientific method. If this person follows these 10 steps and then this person follows these 10 steps, they're going to get the same outcome. And it doesn't happen that way in alchemy. And actually, I don't know if it always happens that way in chemistry, but it's just like somebody following the same recipe. The cakes may not be the same. And, what is the difference is, some of it's your skill as a baker, but also, so that's, I guess, the science part. And then the magic part is the energy that you bring to it. Like if you're making that cake and you're thinking loving thoughts about your family and how they're going to enjoy it versus, oh my gosh, I have to make this for a bake sale and I don't want to do it. I think the cake is going to taste different personally.
Definitely. Definitely. It's all about consciousness. And I'll share quickly an experience I had that was another powerful experience in a spiritual practice I was in for a number of years. And what we did is we took water, and I actually was gifted to be able to study with Masaru Emoto, who did the Messages in Water.
Oh, yeah, I love him.
But we did an experiment where we sat in a group. There were 8 of us, or 6 of us, I don't remember, and we each had a glass of water. And for 45 minutes, we meditated on that water. We just held our water. Maybe it was an hour. It was a long time, and we didn't move. And we just held our water, and we focused on that glass of water and put our energy into the water. And then we took samples of everybody's water, and we tasted it in the group. Honestly, it was so different.
Wow.
Everybody's water tasted just a little different. It was so interesting. And at the end of the experience, there were about, I think, 50 of us in the room. We all poured our water into a big container and had the water that was the energy of everybody. Oh, my gosh.
Oh, wow.
It was a really powerful experience.
That is super cool. I have always really admired his work, and it just always strikes me because so much of our body is water. Yeah. And you're like, so I think about that long and hard, the thoughts that I'm putting in it. If I'm writing, like if I'm wearing a t-shirt, what it says, because he took the water and he put the loving words in, then the negative words on it, and saw the changes that he made in the water. And I'm like, so powerful, because it just, we can change
absolutely
our DNA. We can change so much because we're changing the structure of the water that's in us by what we think. And that's just, it's kind of overwhelming when you think about all the power that we have in our own lives.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it has been lovely to talk to you. It's coming up on an hour, so I don't want to keep you here forever, but I'm going to put in the show notes links to your book on Amazon. That's How to Maintain Balance in a Wobbly World. And I'll put some links to where they can find you online. Is there anything you want to share with them about like your coaching program or your training programs?
Yes, I would just say if anybody feels called, either for themselves or to support others with deep growth, transformational growth, I would invite them to explore the Spirit Center Coaching Certification Program. I can't say enough about the great experience of people supporting each other in the program and their own personal growth. And sometimes people go through the program and decide they don't want to coach, but they got a tremendously powerful experience themselves.
Right.
My goal, though, is to help the world with more powerful spirit-centered people to assist each other. And that's one of the passions I have in my life. So if anybody is called, please do an exploratory call with me. I'm always open to just having a conversation. And if any of your listeners want to have a personal, just breakthrough conversation where we can look at where they are and where they'd like to go, I would be happy to offer a complimentary, one-time session. So just have them get in touch with me.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to make sure that we have all the links on there where they can find your info and get in touch with you. And it's been such a pleasure. I really appreciate you taking the time. And like I said, getting up so early out there in Arizona time to talk to me.
I really enjoyed it. It was you're inspiring, Michelle, so I appreciate it.
Thank you. You are as well. And I really enjoyed your book and connecting with you. And it's been lovely. So Have a wonderful day. Sending you big hugs across the country.
Across the internet.
Yeah, virtual hugs.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Would you like some help creating more magic in your life? I've got a ton of freebies and goodies for you. They're all tucked away inside my magical freebie vault. You can get free access, though. You just have to go to www.dailyalchemy.com/magical-freebie-vault. Again, that's dailyalchemy.com/magical-freebie-vault. And when you get there, you can just plug in your name and email and you will get instant access to all kinds of goodies. There are daily and weekly manifesting planners, the How to Shift Your Vibe in 5 Minutes e-kit that has audios and a workbook. There are moon manifesting planners and daily love lists and money trackers and all kinds of goodies right there. I didn't want to make you have to go to a bunch of different pages and sites and wait for certain freebies to come out. So I just took all of my freebies and put them in one place where you could just sign up one time and download any of them that you want at any time that you needed. So you can just head on over to dailyalchemy.com/magical-freebie-vault and download them today. Have a magical day.
Thanks for listening to the Adventures in Alchemy podcast. Connect with me on thedailyalchemy.com or Facebook at facebook.com/Michelle Dobbins, author. Join us next time for even more magical life tips.